time to get out your cleaning solution and your rags. We are going to be doing a deep cleaning on the rower, teaching you how to take care of your machine so that it will last forever. And with everything happening in the world right now, gyms having been closed and now starting to open again, we're actually going to talk about what Concept 2's recommendations are for how you can be disinfecting your machine for public consumption. So if you're a gym that's been closed or you have a machine that other people use, learn the best way that you can be taking care and disinfecting your machine so that everybody can stay healthy as they're using it. So without further ado, let's get into it. It can be easy to set aside cleaning because it's not really the sexy part of workouts or having one of these machines at home, but a little bit of cleaning goes a long way. So we're just gonna walk through the basics, how to keep the machine clean, important parts of the machine that need to stay clean, what you can do to avoid areas that may take on some damage in the future to make sure that, again, your investment is going to last as long as possible. Let's just help you do that. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Shane Farmer. This is Dark Horse Rowing, where you build the life that you wanna live, and we just happen to use rowing usually to get you there. Before you get started, let's just talk tools that you're gonna need to be able to accomplish all of these tasks. They're fairly basic. This is my representative of some kind of cleaning solution. This can be generally soapy water or Windex is kind of a good general purpose for some of the things. In others, we're gonna have a little bit more robust cleaning solution, and I'll talk about those when we actually get to Concept 2's recommendations for how to disinfect your machine. But if it's just general cleaning purposes, Windex or soapy water is what you'll want, spray bottle for that. Next, you're gonna want a screwdriver, and this is most likely just gonna be a Phillips head. It's about all you need with this, so that's a good start. A rag of some kind, of course, and a vacuum can be pretty helpful as well. So having those things on hand is gonna be a great start. Make sure that you go accumulate those, have them ready to go, and let's just walk through the basics of how to get through cleaning your rower. All right, first step, I'm just gonna work back to front on my machine because that's just kind of the easiest way that I can think of to work through the process of cleaning your machine. Now, again, this is going to be some kind of a soapy complex, just standard soap and water or Windex. Those are the two suggestions from Concept 2. Now again, that's probably going to apply to most machines as well, so whether you're a Concept 2 user or not, you can probably lean back on these suggestions for working for most things. So in this instance, what we are trying to do is keep the black grime buildup from happening on your monorail because it can begin to harden and thicken on the monorail, which leads to that bumpy seat feeling. And you want this to be as smooth as possible. So that is our attempt. Let's make sure that we can just keep that clean. So with that being said, all you're going to do after each workout is just give your monorail a wipe down. Again, you can spray it with Windex to help clean it. And I like to get front to back, move the seat around, make sure that I clean it. And then what I'll also do is take my finger, put it into the rag, wipe it along the wheels, and then I'll just slowly slide the seat as I'm wiping along the wheel. And you'll find that you can get some good stuff off of this slide that way. That black crud that builds up on here is actually a component of 4 different things. That is dirt, perspiration, moly disulfide, which is just a fancy word for the lubrication that they use in the wheels, and slight breakdown of the plastic wheels that are here. And those things combined ends up with that kind of black sooty look on this. And so again, that can harden over time. We just want to do this and address it as often as possible. If you can get it after every workout, great. If it's once a week, that's good too, as long as you just don't give it too long to live there like that. So the next thing we're gonna do is work on making sure that our chain stays clean, because that chain being an important part of the system, you're gonna grab that handle, walk it all the way out. Generally, I advise that you do this with a friend. So that's gonna get walked all the way out. You're then just gonna take some 3-in-1 oil. That's kind of the generally recommended, and if you wanna see that, that's what it looks like. You're gonna take that 3-in-1 oil, lightly spread it onto your rag, and then just put a nice light coat onto your chain. Go ahead and do that for you. Actually, I'm gonna get a different rag than my cleaning one. All right, changed my rag. I'm gonna put some oil on there. I'm gonna show you how I do this as a singular person. It's never quite as easy, but anything for YouTube. All right, handle comes out, and as it comes out, I am just giving a nice light coating here. All the way up and down onto the handle, and then I'm gonna let that traction pull it back. I'm gonna leave it in, and then what I'll do next is just take some strokes to actually work that oil into the system, and you should be good to go on the chain. For all of you pros out there who are planning on having these machines be used by others, gym owners, coaches, maybe you just have a garage like I do that other people come and work out in, it's important that you learn how to and where to disinfect your machine. So the areas that you're going to need to disinfect. Basically think anywhere where people touch. That would be things like the straps, the buckles on the straps, the seat, the handle, the flywheel or damper setting adjustment, the neck, and the face of the monitor. Now, the things to understand, these areas, the seat, the buckle, the foot stretcher, the handle, the damper setting handle, these can all be actually cleansed with a disinfectant that you could probably put right on the surface. The monitor is a different story. We do not want to spray anything onto the monitor. That can actually ruin the monitor. Now, I'm gonna actually get into Concept 2's recommendations of what to use to disinfect your machine at the end, so stay tight for that. But when it comes to the surface here, it's best to spray it onto something and wipe on, make sure it's not soaking wet, but spray on, wipe on. That is your best option for making sure that you can disinfect the face or the buttons of your monitor. And while we're speaking about the monitor, another good area to pay attention to is the battery compartment on the back side of your monitor. Just make sure that you don't leave batteries in there for too long that they could begin to leak. So it's always just healthy to occasionally open up that battery compartment and just check on the batteries, make sure nothing funky is going on back there. Make sure that you don't have a leaky battery, because a leaky battery, and I've seen this many, many times, can ruin a monitor from behind, and you do not want that to happen. These are about $180 to replace, so you don't want to have to go through that pain just because a battery goes bad. So that happens if these things are more neglected. Generally, the more you're paying attention, the more you would pick up on something like that. But always just open that battery compartment and check to make sure you don't have a leaky battery. Next up, and this is a bit of a fun one to be able to do, is because sometimes you can realize you've been missing out on some serious work on this thing, the flywheel on this machine. Now, I do know that with, for example, water rower, the way that you're gonna clean your flywheel is that you will actually put, I believe it's chlorinated tablets into your water there to make sure that you're cleaning the water so that it doesn't get too hard and then, mineral deposits start to form and everything. But with the Concept 2, what you're gonna do is take a Phillips head screwdriver, simple enough, and you're gonna gently unscrew these 4 screws on the faceplate. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm gonna gently unscrew those first, and then I'll take you to the next step. Now, with those 4 unscrewed, you're going to find, if you have a new machine, now this could be in a different place if you bought a used one. I've seen them all the way around, but generally under this front bracket here, you're going to see another connection and one final screw. So you're gonna get in there with that Phillips head, and you're gonna loosen it. And what that does, that piece is the connection, because this is actually one long piece of perforated cage here. So by loosening it, so you loosen the front, that took some of the tension off. Then you're gonna loosen this screw, and that's going to bring this bracket to you. So this is what I was talking about. There's a little connection bracket here. Once it comes out, I'm gonna unscrew it a little bit more. Not all the way though. And what that's going to allow me to do then is pinch, and these 2 parts are going to come apart. So from here, I can actually pull it out, and now you're gonna have one nice long sheath here for you. Now, what you're actually gonna do once you get inside this is, number 1, clean that perforated metal piece here. So to do that, again, you can just use a simple soapy water solution or just a damp rag, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so with that piece wiped down, I'm gonna show you how much dirt I was able to get. So, not terrible, but this was the dirt that was coming off of just the perforated cage of this. The next step is gonna be taking my vacuum and getting that vacuum into here, and just because I keep mine clean, there's not a lot, but what you're gonna find, many of you, if you've never been into the flywheel before, there's a lot of dust buildup in here. So I'm gonna grab my most narrow hose attachment. I'm gonna hold it right here, turn the vacuum on, and then I'm just gonna lightly or slowly spin the flywheel just to get any dust that I can out of this flywheel housing. Now, a good option once you've gone through it with just a standard hose, if you have these attachments, they can be very helpful, is going to be some kind of a bristled head attachment, which is just gonna help to scrub and be able to get some of the dust, again, off of the outside of this flywheel housing. And if things are really, really bad inside, you're also welcome to take this whole faceplate off, which would just include finishing, bringing out these 4 screws here, taking the whole faceplate off, and then you could manually get in there with a wet rag if you're finding that the vacuum just isn't getting all of the dirt out that you're finding. All right, so I've got that fine bristled attachment head. I'm gonna do one more pass with the vacuum. Once you're done vacuuming, all you're gonna need to do is take this and feed it back through the system. When it comes back together, you'll tighten it down a little, then you're gonna slide it back into place, then you'll finish tightening it, and then you'll tighten the 4 screws on the face. Go ahead and watch. I can do it by feel, I can do it. I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. I refuse to look at this point. I've come too far. There, I got it. We're safe, everybody, we're good. That is how you approach cleaning the flywheel. And finally, just a good precaution to take for the monitor arm, because over time, the bolts on here will start to loosen. So you can either use a 9/16 or a 15 millimeter. 9/16 tends to fit better. And just give these a good tighten every 6 months or so, especially if you find that yours gets a lot of use, because if this thread here gets loose, if this guy gets loose, what'll happen is that this can just drop, and this monitor does not like impacts. I promise, it does not. As well, it can also drop this way. Now, it has a limiter, so it'll stop here. But if this gets loose, then your monitor will start to droop. And it's just a simple way of keeping up the performance of this. And these 2 bolts are just good to take care of. You can actually see if no, they're both snug. But you wanna make sure that they're snug so that you don't end up with your monitor slamming into the back of your machine or drooping as you're starting to use it. Now, I mentioned I was gonna tell you what Concept 2 is suggesting that we all use to disinfect our machines, and they actually give us 2 options. The first would be a household bleach, and they're suggesting 1/3 cup to 1 gallon of water. Apply it to the machine, leave it to sit for 1 minute or more, and then wipe it with a damp rag to get that off, let it air dry, and then you're disinfected for up to 24 hours based off of their recommendations. The second would be using alcohol, and that would be 70% or more. And with this, you're actually going to apply it and then let it air dry, and that should give you a disinfecting property as well. And of course, they also suggest do not apply this to the electronics in any way. So if you're gonna do this disinfect, make sure that you are spraying something else and wiping down, or perhaps that you have some kind of a controlled disinfectant that you can use for the buttons or the face of the machine. Another way of doing it as well would be just perhaps covering it with something that is replaceable. I don't know, maybe a Ziploc bag that gets thrown away after each person. Don't hold me to that. I am not working for the CDC or the World Health Organization, so I don't exactly know. That just came up off the top of my head, but thinking about ways in which we can keep that monitor clean, because so much button pushing does happen there. I guess the best way to do that would be making sure that people don't touch their face after they've touched the monitor, and making sure they wash their hands before they do touch their face. If you found this useful so that you can keep your machine running forever, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you can get alerted when we come out with new videos all about this machine. As well, I've created a downloadable PDF for you guys to be able to print out, laminate, put in your gym so that you always have a checklist for your maintenance at home. You're gonna find that at darkhorserowing.com/maintenance checklist. Go check that out.